Imagine the choking haze of coal dust and molten fury blanketing Pittsburgh's blackened skies on a rain-lashed autumn day in 1869 as a stern, 56-year-old Irish immigrant named Thomas Mellon, his face etched like weathered granite from decades of clawing against poverty, locks the heavy oak doors of a modest counting house on Smithfield Street, his calloused hands trembling not from cold, but from the weight of a dream forged in exile's fire. The Monongahela River churns below like a serpent of slag and steam carrying barges laden with iron ore that feed the city's insatiable maw, while in the distance, Bessemer converters belch flames that paint the night orange a symphony of hammers, and howls drowning the cries of laborers crushed beneath the wheel of progress. Thomas, once a boy fleeing famine's shadow in County Tyrone, has risen from farmhand to judge, his legal robes traded for ledgers stained with ink and ambition. But this bank Mellon Sons is no mere vault. It's a gauntlet thrown at the feet of Wall Street titans, a rebel outpost in the steel-hearted wilds where loans flow not to blue bloods, but to gritty inventors betting their souls on rails and refineries. His youngest son, 14-year-old Andrew, peers from the shadows, his eyes sharp as a prosecutor's blade, already calculating the alchemy of capital, haunted by a father's unyielding creed. Work as if your fortune depended on it. For it does. What if this quiet boy raised in a mansion of marble and melancholy amid Pittsburgh's hellish glow could weave those loans into an invisible web, ensnaring steel behemoths, oil gushers, and the very pulse of a nation's economy, his silent hand shaping booms and busts from a Treasury throne? Grip the edge of your seat, for the Mellon's ascent isn't a dry ledger of mergers and mandates. It's a heart-searing epic of immigrant grit, fraternal feuds, and the lonely throne of power, a dynasty whose whispers still steer fortunes, unveiling the hidden veins of America's gilded underbelly, where wealth's quiet kings rule not with crowns, but with the cold precision of a checkbook's stroke. From the mist-shrouded hills of Camp Hill Cottage in northern Ireland on February 3, 1813, Thomas Mellon burst into a world of peat fires and potato blight. The eldest son of Archibald Mellon and Rebecca, walk-up Scotch-Irish farmers whose lives unraveled under Britain's boot. At 5, famine's specter loomed: evictions, empty bellies, and in 1818, the family fled on a creaking packet ship to Philadelphia's fevered docks. Thomas clutching a borrowed Bible, his mother's tear-streaked farewell echoing like a dirge. They scraped westward to Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania, a raw frontier of mud-churned roads and malaria swamps, where Archibald toiled as a stonemason, his hands gnarled from carving hearths for hollow-eyed settlers. Young Thomas devoured books by Kendall Stubbs' Blackstone's Law, Adam Smith's Wealth, his mind a forge, refusing the plow's yoke, apprenticed at 14 to a grocer whose ledgers whispered of escape. By 1837, he'd clawed to Pittsburgh, a soot-choked boom town of 20,000 souls where rivers birthed bridges, and mills devoured men, passing the bar after devouring tomes in a garret that leaked despair. Success came swift but solitary. A judge's bench by 1859, his rulings ironclad. But love bloomed late and fierce in 1843 with Sarah Jane Negley, a coal heiress from a clan of River Barons, her gentle fire melting his stoic shell. Their union yielded 8 children, 5 surviving infancy, a brood raised in the East Liberty mansion dubbed the Gloomy Pile, where Sarah's piano softened Thomas's thunderous edicts. No idleness, no extravagance, every penny a soldier in Fortune's army. Andrew, born March 24, 1855, the 6th, absorbed it deepest, tall, pale, with a gaze that pierced like winter fog, his childhood a blur of Latin tutors and ledger drills shadowed by siblings' tragedies. Infant graves, a brother's early fade, Sarah's quiet grief a veil over family suppers laced with scripture and scrutiny. Thomas's empire ignited in real estate's furnace, farms flipped into factories, coal veins mined for mortgages, his 1864 investments yielding dividends that swelled like the Alleghany's spring flood. But the true blaze kindled in 1869 with the bank, a 3-story bastion where conservative loans to glassworks and rail yards defied Philadelphia's panic. Thomas's mantra, lend to the makers, not the takers, a heresy that paid in gold. Andrew, at 19 in 1874, joined as bookkeeper, his quill a scalpel dissecting risks. Sleeping in the vault amid stacks of scrip during the 1873 Depression, his father's growl echoing, "Fortune favors the vigilant." By 1880, Andrew helmed the firm, renaming it Mellon Brothers with sibling James Ross. Their partnership a taut wire of trust and tension. James the affable diplomat, Andrew the spectral strategist. His solitary nights poring over patents by gaslight, haunted by visions of untapped ores. Pittsburgh's pulse quickened. Carnegie's rails, Frick's coke ovens, the air a perpetual twilight of sulfur and sweat, and Andrew scented the pivot industry's thirst for capital, a river he would dam and direct. In 1889, a $25,000 loan to Pittsburgh Reduction Company, a fledgling aluminum quester, bought equity. By 1907, Mellon Control birthed Alcoa, its lightweight miracle, arming Wright Brothers' wings and Ford's frames profits. Cascading from $87,000 in 1898 to millions by 1900, Union Steel followed in 1899, a $1 million forge sold 4 years later to U.S. Steel for $41 million. Profit amid whispers of inflated ledgers that would haunt audits. Gulf Oil erupted in 1901, a $1 million lifeline to Spindletop's gushers. Control seized by 1907, its black tide fueling tankers and trusts, merging into Chevron's Colossus decades hence. Copper's Coke, Westinghouse's Watts, Carborundum's Abrasives, the Mellon's web spanned 99 banks by 1920. Family holdings at $1.69 billion. Andrew's stake a $600 million specter. $9 billion today. His days a blur of boardrooms where deals sealed with a nod, not a flourish, his heart armored against the human toll. Strikes bloodied in Homestead, widows' wails lost in ledger lines. Yet power's throne beckoned beyond ledgers. In 1900, Andrew wed Nora McMullen, a 19-year-old Irish beauty whose laughter pierced his reserve. Their Virginia estate, Oak Spring, a haven of hunts and honeysuckles, daughters Ailsa and Paulina blooms in the gloom. But fractures spidered. Nora's extravagance clashed with his thrift divorce in 1907, a scandal's storm $6.5 million settlement, her flight to Europe a wound that scarred Andrew's soul, his letters to her laced with longing's ache. You were my light now dimmed. Solitude deepened, his art hoard Rembrandts. Vermeer's a silent solace, canvases whispering of lost warmth amid mansions' echoes. Politics called in 1920. A $1.5 million Republican tithe for Harding's crown. Repaid with Treasury keys in 1921. Andrew at 65, the elder statesman in a cabinet of cronies. His Mellon Plan a scalpel to deficits. Taxes slashed from 77% to 25% on high earners. Estate duties halved, debt halved to $16 billion by 1930, fueling Roaring Twenties frenzy of flappers and futures. Coolidge dubbed him Oracle. The business of America is business. But shadows lengthened 1929's crash, a thunderclap he foresaw yet couldn't quell. His policies pilloried as plutocrats' ploy. FDR's hounds baying tax evasion in 1933, a $3.1 million probe yielding $500,000 fine. Andrew's defiance a rasp. I served honestly. Health crumbled, prostate shadows tax trials toll, yet from his Florida sickbed he gifted 21 paintings to the nation in 1937, birthing the National Gallery of Art. A $15 million marble mausoleum of masterpieces, his will a balm. $500 million to heirs' trusts, shielding the hoard from heirs' hands. The dynasty endures, a phantom fleet. BNY Mellon stewards $47 trillion today. Alcoa's gleam in aerospace, Gulf's ghost and Chevron's pumps. Family net $14.1 billion scattered among 100 souls. Timothy's border walls. Paulina's equestrian echoes. Ailsa's ballet bounties, yet fractures persist. 1957's 4 heirs among America's richest. But feuds like Richard King's 1997 fade. Whispers of dynastic drift. Thomas's ghost, buried in Allegheny Cemetery amid ironweed, might nod at the web's weave silent power and pack. Andrew's portrait in the gallery gazes eternal, his mustache a wry sentinel. Legacy a riddle. Benefactor or baron, architect of abundance or austerity's architect. The Mellons murmur from Tyrone's thorns to Treasury's zest throne, unravels America's veiled valor. Immigrant Inc. birthing industrial infernos, quiet capitals, coup d'etat. A fortune's filigree threading economy's warp. Does their shadowed sovereignty not stir the strategist in you, whispering of legacies laced in leverage? If Andrew's austere ascent echoes in your ambitions, pause and subscribe. Let's illuminate history's hidden vaults as one. Next, The forge master whose libraries laundered a king's cutthroat crown. Andrew Carnegie's Steel Symphony. From Dunfermline docks to $300 billion echoes, philanthropy the velvet glove on an iron fist. What silent string would you pull in power's loom? Weave it in the comments, we're all dynasts in the making.